Alright, so y'all go ahead and do the factoring and the math knowledge question for today. Pause the video, and then once everyone is finished, you can unpause the video and I'll go over the correct answers. So for the factoring, you should have x minus 3 times x plus 1. For the math knowledge question, we have the graph xy equals 8, and it's reflected across the x-axis. Which of them is going to give you this graph? So let's start off by graphing xy equals 8. So two numbers that multiply to give us 8 are 1 and 8, and 8 and 1. Another two numbers would be 2 and 4, and 4 and 2. And so this is going to be the graph of x, y equals 8. And then we want to reflect it across the x-axis. So this is our x-axis, so to reflect it, it's going to get put down here. So this is going to make all of our x values have to be positive because they're all over here. So that's either going to be D or E. And all of our y values have to be negative because it's down here. So that's going to be E, because they need to be a negative number, and so the absolute value of x times y is going to equal negative 8. Okay, so we are looking at lesson 41 today. We're going to look at ratios, proportions, and similarity. So hopefully after we finish this lesson, you'll understand how ratios, proportions, and similarity work. So a ratio is a comparison of two values by division, basically a fraction. The ratio of any two quantities, A and B, can be written in three different ways. A to B, A colon B, which is read as A to B, or A over B, where B cannot equal 0. A statement where you have two ratios that are equal is called a proportion. So whenever you say A over B equals C over D, that's a proportion. So we're going to look at two triangles down here in this picture, and we want to write a ratio comparing the lengths of RT to TS to SR. So the length of RT is 9. The length of TS is 7. And the length of RS is 13. So when you have 3, I would not make it a fraction. I would leave it like this. Or 9 to 7 to 13. I would put it like that. One of those two ways. Write a ratio comparing the lengths of WV. So WV is 14 to UW. UW is 18. And it says do it in three ways. So that's one way. We could also say 14 to 18. Or we could say 14 over 18. So that would be the three different ways you can write it. This is actually going to be a test question, and it's going to say write a ratio in three different ways. And those are the three ways you do it. So it's not terribly difficult, but every year at least 2 or 3 people just forget one of them. They don't practice it enough. They just forget how to do one of them. So make sure that you pay attention to the 3 different ways that you can write your ratios. Now we want to write a proportion to show that RT to UW equals RS to UV. So RT is 9 and UW is 18, and then RS is 13 and UV is 26. And then it says to show that they are equal. Well, 9 over 18 reduces to 1/2. 13 over 26 reduces to 1/2. So that shows that they are equal. You just reduce your fractions and you get your answer. Okay? Looking at proportions more specifically, the proportions A over B equals CD A and D are called your extremes, and B and C are called your means. So we'll learn more about B and C being the means in a couple weeks. But for now, A and B are your extremes, and B and C are your means. One way you can solve a proportion is to use cross products. And the cross product is the product of the means and the product of the extremes. So if you multiplied, you would have AD equals BC. You're just going to cross multiply. So AD equals BC. So we want to solve this proportion to find the value of x. And some of y'all may be rolling your eyes because you're like, I already know how to do this. This is easy. That's fine. So if so, that's okay. We're still going to practice it. So 2 times x would be 2x. 8 times 9 would be 72. And then if you divide by 2, x would be 36. So hopefully you've solved proportions before. If not, that's okay, but this is all you have to do. Cross multiply equals cross multiply, and then solve for your variable. In similarity, your figures are going to have the same shape, but they're not going to have the same size. So it's a little bit different than congruent. So they are the same shape, but they are not the same size. In similar polygons, your corresponding angles are congruent, and then your corresponding sides are going to be proportional. For a similarity ratio, that's going to be the ratio of 2 corresponding linear measurements in a pair of similar figures. So if we have a figure here and a figure here, and this is 1 and this is 2, the ratio of the 2 is going to be 1 to 2, because you just do one side over the other side. So looking here, we want to find the side length that is missing. So the first thing we're going to do is make our 3 ratios. So A is corresponding to 15. So we're going to say A over 15. The 9 is corresponding to the 27. So 9 over 27. And then the B is to 18. So that would be your first step. And then from there, we're just going to solve for A and B. So if you want, you can reduce this one to 1/3. It'll make it so your math is a lot easier, but you don't have to. So if we do A over 15 equals 1/3, we'll have 3A equals 15. And then if you divide, A will equal 5. And then for B, 1/3 would equal B over 18. So 3B equals 18, and so B would equal 6. So that's how you can use your ratios in order to find your side lengths. Looking at a similarity statement, that is just a statement that indicates your polygons are similar, and it lists the vertices in order of correspondence. Just like when you're dealing with congruence, you have to put them in the correct order. Same thing with similarity. Corresponding angles have to be in the same spot. So if I say triangle ABC is similar, that's your symbol for similar. That means that in my similar triangles, angle A and angle D are corresponding. And angle B and angle E are corresponding. Same thing with C and F. Okay, so looking here, it tells us A, B, C, D is to E, F, G, H. So that means that they are similar. So the measure of F and D is what we're looking for. So if you look, F is the second letter, so that means that the second letter is going to be corresponding to it. So B and F are corresponding. So it tells us angle B is 130, so that means that angle F also has to equal 130 because they're corresponding. And then angle D is the last one. Angle H is the last one listed. So they tell us angle H is 80. So that means that angle D also has to equal 80 degrees. Okay? And then we want to look for the length of GF. So we're looking for this side length here. So we need to set up a set of ratios. So they tell us 6 is EF. So if you look over here, EF is corresponding to the length of AB, and the length of AB is 12. And then we're looking for GF, and the one that is corresponding to GF is going to be CB. And they tell you that CB is 18. Now 6 over 12 reduces to 1/2. So it's going to make your math easier if you'll go ahead and reduce that. And then you can get 2 times GF equals 18. So the length of GF is 9. So that's how you can use your ratios to solve for your angles and your sides. Now we're going to look at this one. We have 2 triangles. We have one little one and one bigger one. So if we start with this triangle, the height to the base, that's what we'll do for our ratio. So the height is X and the base length is 20. And then on the big triangle, it's right here, the height is 20 and the base is 25. And so you don't have to reduce it, but I definitely think it makes it easier. 20 over 25 is 4 over 5. Then if you cross multiply, 5x equals 80, and then divide by 5, x equals 16 feet. So that's how you can use ratios there. So they're not terribly difficult. Y'all may have, I know if you've taken Algebra 2, you've done this before. If you did it last year, you may remember it a little bit, but you do have to practice at them. Sometimes people have a little bit of trouble of figuring out what goes with which part of your fraction. Sometimes people want to flip this one or whatever. So just make sure that you do the same piece over the same piece, height over the base for this particular one. Or you could do base over height and just have both of these 2 fractions flipped. So let's see if you can do these 3 practice problems. So you should have 4 to 9 to 6. For B, AM is 9 and LR is 27. But this one says in simplest form. So 9 to 27 is going to reduce, they both divide by 3. They both divide by 9 to give us 1 to 3. And then we could say 1 to 3, and we could say 1 over 3. So it said to reduce it, so you need to make sure that you write it completely reduced. And then we want to write a proportion. HM is 6, PR is 18, AM is 9, and LR is 27. And then 6 over 18 reduces to 1/3, and 9 over 27 reduces to 1/3. So that shows that they are equal. Let's see if you can try these 2 by yourself. And then we're going to go over them. So for this one, you're going to have 7x equals 8 times 21 is 168. And then if you divide by 7, you should get x equals 24. Okay? This tells you that the two triangles are similar. We want to find the missing link in our triangle UVW. So if we set up our ratios, one of them could be 4 over 10, and then the other one could be 10 over x. You could also have 8 over 20 if you would like. You just need to pick two of these to use, either the one on the left in the middle one or the one on the right in the middle one. So both 4 over 10 and 8 over 20 reduce to 2 over 5, then 10 over x. So if you multiply, you get 2x equals 50, and then x equals 25. And so that would be your answer. Okay, so let's look at these next two. So y'all try these two by yourself, and then we'll go over them after y'all have unpaused the video. So they tell us that these are similar polygons. We want to know the measure of angle O. So O is the third letter, and S is the third letter. So S is 62. So that means that O is also going to be 62 degrees. Because those are our corresponding angles. For angle R is the second one, and N is the second one. So those are corresponding. But we don't have what angle N is. However, we know that these three plus angle N have to add up to 360. So if you do 360 minus 95 minus 63 minus 81, you'll get 121. No, you get 122. Sorry. So the measure of angle R is equal to 122 degrees, because that's what the measure of angle N equaled. Okay, looking at G, we want to find X, Y, and Z. So you're going to set up your ratios. 5 to Y is 3 to X, is 9 to Z, is 4 to 12. So those are the four ratios you should have set up. And this 4 over 12 reduces to 1/3. So another way that you can do it instead of using your ratios is actually just to look at your ratios. 4 to 12, this number gets multiplied by 3 to get here. So for X, 3 times 3 is 9. So our X value would be 9. 5 times 3 is 15, and so that's what your Y value is going to be. And then 9 times 3 for Z is going to be 27. So some of y'all may prefer to do it that way. Or you can use your ratios like we've been doing. Either one is fine with me. Okay, so let's look at one more practice problem. Cree uses a 21-foot ladder and a 12-foot ladder while painting the exterior of a house. Each ladder forms the same angle with the ground. If the longer ladder reaches 18 feet up the wall, how high does the other ladder reach to the nearest foot? So y'all pause the video and try this one by yourself. So we've got a ladder, and it's a 21-foot ladder, and it goes 18 feet up the wall. And then we have another ladder that is only 12 feet, and we don't know what the height is for it. So we can set up a ratio. 21 to 12 is 18 to H. So if you divide these by 3, you'll get 7 over 4 equals 18 over H. And then you're going to cross multiply. So 4 times 18 is 72. So we're going to have 7h equals 72. And then when you divide, you get 10.29. And it says to the nearest foot. So that rounds to just 10 feet. So that would be your answer for that one. So hopefully you were able to get most of those correct. The more you practice them, the easier it'll get to actually set up your ratios correctly. So looking at our challenge question, it wants you to use a protractor to draw the quadrilateral KLMN such that these angle pieces are true. So on this one, first off, we know that angle L plus angle M plus angle N plus angle K is equal to 360 because it's a quadrilateral. And L is 2 times K, M is 3 times K, and N is 4 times K. So we can substitute each of those in. And then 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 1 is 10K. So if you divide by 10, K would be 36 degrees. And then if K is 36, L would be 72. And M is 108. And N is 144. So that would be your 4. So I'm going to try and use the protractor on the computer. It may or may not let me actually use it. No, it's not. So you would use your protractor to do this. And I'm just going to have to estimate it, I guess, because it won't let me draw it with the protractor. So we'll say K is about right there. And then L is 72 degrees, so that's still an acute angle. And then M is obtuse and N is obtuse. So that's as good as I can do it freehanding it. I wish I could use a protractor on the computer to do it, but it should look something like that. It kind of looks like a trapezoid, but it's not going to be because the sides aren't parallel. But that's how you would go about finding your angles before you actually graphed it. So your homework is 1 through 30 tonight, so make sure that y'all do those tonight so we can go over any questions you have tomorrow.